Question number 9. How will the Secretariat prioritize activities and expert consultation given the budget constraints? I would like to refer to the previous answer for this question. 10. How will reduction in personnel and third-party services affect the service center ability to deliver services to the public? Answer. For the remaining 2 months of this year, no measures will impact the service center's ability to deliver services to the public. Operationally, the departments within the service centers are able to forecast peak periods and anticipate potential shortages of staff. Where necessary, adjustments are made by reallocating staff to ensure service continuity. Even during peak periods or in the case of staff shortages, these adjustments allow the departments to maintain service levels and ensure that the public's needs are met without compromise. Question 11. Are there any plans to streamline operations to accommodate these budget constraints? As mentioned before, these cuts are for the rest of the year 2024. The government expects limited impact on the functioning of the organization for the coming 2 months. However, I still want to assure Parliament that when needed, operations will be streamlined by ministries working together. Question 12. Please explain what caused the ministries to make specific cuts and what are the effects of those cuts, and why were those cuts chosen at that specific budget post? As was already mentioned, the cuts are on the advice of CFT. In general, the choice was to cut, for example, the amount budgeted for personnel which still need to be recruited and for which the process has not yet started. Also, any other activity which will impact on the functioning of the department as little as possible, like amounts budgeted for training which have not been committed yet, etc. Question 13. Will the reduction in personnel cost expenses affect the ministry's capacity to engage in diplomatic initiatives? Diplomatic initiative will continue to operate. These cuts will not hamper the work of the department for the coming 2 months. Question 14. What measures are in place to ensure that foreign relations priorities are not compromised due to these reductions? The Department of Foreign Relations will continue to operate based on the priorities of the government. The department will also continue to collaborate with partners at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago, and the permanent representation of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, called the Mission to the United Nations in New York. These cuts will have limited impact for the coming months. Question 15. How will the reduction impact on the department's ability to attract and retain legal professionals? Unfortunately, I have to mention that even before any budget cuts, the department has been struggling to attract and retain legal professionals. Therefore, it can be concluded that it's not the availability of the budget which is the main reason for attracting legal professionals. It should be mentioned, however, that the recruitment process has just finished and a new legal professional is to start very soon in the department. Furthermore, during a management meeting, the Department of P&O proposed some structural adjustments in the ministry, which can lead to a more efficient functioning ministry and create a more attractive work environment. Since the proposal will include adjustment of the National Ordinance Landsverordening, Inrichting en Organisatie Landsoverheid, the involvement of Parliament is required. At this moment, we are still in the phase of brainstorming. By the beginning of next year, a proposal will be presented to the Council of Ministers. Question 16. What alternative training opportunity are being explored given the decrease in training funds? I want to refer to my previous answer to the MP on this subject and repeat the following. I was informed that there has been a notable lack of training and career development in general areas across various ministries for a long time, which has been a significant source of dissatisfaction among some civil servants, as highlighted in the MTO survey. Therefore, it is not because of these proposed cuts that the civil servant will lack training. In my previous answer, I provided Parliament, among others, with the initiatives taken by the organization like the Government Training Center, the GTC, and making use of international and local affiliations. Question 17. What impact will the reduction in funds for training and equipment have on the fire department's operational readiness? I would like to refer to my previous answer also for this question. Question 18. How does the department plan to address potential shortage in essential goods and services for disaster response? As was confirmed to me, the cuts to the disaster funds were a minimum. I can assure Parliament, however, that in case of a disaster, the government will make sure that the necessary funds will be available, for example, by reallocating the funds. Question 19. How will these cuts affect the Staff Bureau's ability to retain qualified staff and maintain morale? As mentioned before, the ability to retain qualified staff and maintain morale has been a challenge for government. However, for the next 2 months, these cuts are expected to have no or limited impact on all the departments. Question 20. Given the large cut in training funds, what plans are in place to ensure continuous staff development? As mentioned, in-house training is the first alternative. What will be the impact of the decreased funding for government agencies on the plenipotentiary ministries' activities? Just as in case of all the other departments, the cuts for the 2 coming months will have limited impact on the functioning of this cabinet. Question 22. How does the ministry intend to maintain effective relations with other entities given these cuts? It is not clear what is meant by other entities, but in general, the cuts will have limited impact on the internal and external relationship for the ministry. How will the reduction in the budget for other goods and services impact the ministry's ability to manage unforeseen operational expenses? Just as in the case for all unforeseen situations, government needs to be creative. With the cuts, this is no different. As mentioned before, ministries will need to work, especially now, together. Question number 24. Are there plans to relocate funds from other areas to cover potential shortfalls in essential services? Yes. Working together means that under certain circumstances, the funds will be reallocated from other areas to cover potential shortfalls. MP York. Airport projects slated to be completed this year. Reference reflow to government. Are they slated to restart with immediate effect? If not, do they have a grace period? What are the government plans concerning the reflows of the airport? I was informed that the previous government had planned to use the reflows of the airport to fund a disaster risk fund. This plan had to be carried out, among others, by the NRPB. As I was informed, the plan has not been executed yet. I have already instructed the Ministry and the NRPB to provide me with an update and the best way moving forward with the intention to establish this National Disaster Risk Fund. Question 2 from MP York. Cost of the rental will not be passed on to the consumer. Can the government provide an overview of fuel class rate from 2021 to present? Can that overview include factors with reasons for the increase other than the fuel costs? A table showing the overview of the fuel clause by month from January 2020 to September 2024 has been provided to the Chair of Parliament via email recently. This table provides a clear illustration of the variabilities of the fuel clause amounts by month. It should be noted that the variability in the fuel clause is based on the fuel cost from the fuel supplier. The cost of fuel is affected by various factors such as global market conditions. As can be seen in the overview, this variation can sometimes be large, both upwards and downwards. Once more, I would like to refer to the table that I've sent via the President of Parliament. The fuel clause is the chart that reflects the cost of fuel used to produce the electricity sold. It is calculated by dividing the total cost of fuel purchases by the net sale of electricity. The fuel clause, what is the current percentage of the cost not related to the cost of fuel and the throughput fee that are in the makeup of the fuel clause? Please specify exactly what these costs are, if any. As answered before, the fuel clause is based on a specific calculation. This formula has been a few times already discussed in Parliament recently, and VGB performs this calculation to invoice customers for their energy usage. The fuel cost from the supplier where NVGB purchases HFO or LFO is based on several factors. The sole importer of fuel calculates fuel prices based on the stock-out date of its fuel at the previous posting price. The posting price is based on a price built-up model that includes freight, taxes, and importer margins. For further elucidation, the components that make up the fuel cost paid by NVB are as follows. The components are the Caribbean posted price, premium surcharge, insurance, freight, and procurement. Further, inspection, loss allowance, cost, insurance, freight, remittance tax, port throughput fee, and marketing differential. GB is the Electricity Concession Ordinance of 2024, with GB is the Electricity Concession Ordinance of 2014 with GB still valid? Yes or no? Answer is yes. The Electricity Concession Ordinance of 2014 with GB is still valid. And VGB holds an exclusive concession to supply electricity in Sint Maarten, granted in 2010 for 25 years, which encompasses the current period. Question 5. There are a lot of questions regarding the loan for the new generators. Suggests having a closed-door meeting where the documents can be shared and to have an open dialogue to avoid any misunderstandings. As government has already informed Parliament, based on an estimate, an amount has been presented to the Netherlands for a loan. The Netherlands are open for this, and one of the requirements is to have this amount incorporated in the budget of 2024. The agreement is that after this amendment is approved, the government will inform the State Secretary and discussions on the details of the loan will begin. The only documents so far are the request from the government and the response from the State Secretary. This is almost the same procedure as the previous requests from government for capital investments. Madam Chair, I think that these are the answers to the questions posted by the MPs. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Marcelina, Minister of General Affairs, thank you for those answers provided. Members of Parliament have the opportunity now to react to what has been provided, and I invite MP Doran to take the floor. MP Doran, you have the floor.